Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 86 of the Xbox Hall of Gamers podcast. This week, I'm joined by Cameron.
Hello.
And Gio.
Hello, everyone.
This week, news is a little bit quiet. We found a couple of things, but there's going to be the Activision Blizzard Microsoft saga continues. And apparently will continue, as it seems. As just when we saw the light at the end of the tunnel, they decided to just make that tunnel just a little bit longer.
Look, they've extended it to October, which my birthday is in October on the 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody's got any excuses for not buying me presents. But I will accept the closure of this deal.
to not talk about it, basically. Yeah, that's the greatest gift of all. We'll touch on some Diablo 4 stuff that's been happening at the moment. It's been kind of big news, and also the big news about Games with Gold and Xbox Game Pass Core. But as always, we're doing the show live on Twitch. We have people joining us. Bulbasaur's here, Zach's here, Shadowed Sly is here. Thank you all for joining us. Yes, Shadow Sly points out that yes, I did do Payday 2 on the 360, so yes, it was an absolute nightmare. But as always, this show is live on Twitch, Xbox Hall of Gamers. If you want to come hang out with us, we do the show live, usually on Fridays. You can come say hi, ask questions, shit post, that kind of stuff. We appreciate all the community involvement. All right, well, let's get straight into our community questions.
I got a question straight off the bat. How much?
Yes.
How much for a charity goal for you to do Payday 3?
Oh boy, Payday 3 need to be a big
my god
one. That game
I feel like it's going to be bad.
Yeah, that game looks. I mean, like, to be fair, I'm sure it'll be like a fine game. I'm just, I don't know if I could do another Payday, to be honest. I did so much of Payday 2 solo by myself because again the 360 version was just a nightmare.
Yeah.
But
I have so many reasons to not want to play Payday.
Yeah.
And they start with not finishing GTA 5.
yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm interested to see what they do with Payday 3. Like when we saw it at Summer Games Fest, I was like, oh, okay. Like there might be some interesting stuff there, but it does look like more of the same.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the series. It's not.
I think it's a really cool idea. I think the execution maybe leaves a little bit to be desired. But anyway, we do have some questions this week. This one comes from my good friend Mikhail, who says, so looking at the latest post in the news channel, not in the news channel every couple of months, do you think that e.g. card booster packs should fall into the same category as loot boxes, as they're essentially the same thing? And so he's referring to an article where the UK games industry reveals that they're looking to restrict loot boxes in the UK, obviously. Following kind of, I believe, like the Netherlands already restricting them, who are also talking about like outright banning them.
Yeah.
As well. And this potentially becoming more of a thing like in Europe in general, due to ostensibly due to stronger consumer protections in the European Union. Not that the UK is part of that anymore, but anyway, I don't know. Let's start with you guys. What do you guys think about it? We can talk about loot boxes in general as well, because we haven't bitched about them for a while.
Yeah, I feel like, what was it, like 2020, 2021 was the entire year just bitching about loot boxes with us.
I mean, they were really bad.
Yeah.
Seems like every couple of years they raise their head in a different way. So,
I've got a few different thoughts on this, and I kind of need to look up a article that came out this week on my state in Australia is actually cracking down on pokies with load up limits and that kind of stuff.
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah, okay.
So yeah, I think the Australian poke industry is like massive, like one of the biggest in the world. So when it comes to
it funds most of our government,
Yeah.
I believe.
and the supermarkets involvement, and oh boy, we can spend a whole night talking about this. But like a few of the things that they're doing are mandatory closing hours, slower spin times, load up limits, that kind of stuff. Now, getting back onto track to relate this back to gaming, I do think loot boxes should be a strictly 18 plus venture. If companies want to implement them and all that, I don't think they should be taken away, but I think there should be heavy restrictions when it comes to one, having to be over 18, not being targeted at children, how how a number of them have been actually like doing the regulation stuff for Gamescom, because I'm going to Germany next month, and there's like whole restrictions and all that with showcasing games on the show floor when it comes to gambling. And then just the smaller spending limits. I reckon, like, I do think there should be a restriction in games to prevent you from spending exorbitant amounts on, like, on loot boxes or skins or this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, so do you think that loot boxes are gambling essentially?
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough.
Well, I think it comes down to what were you going to say, Cameron?
I was going to say, like, any purchase that requires some level of chance.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go with it.
Yeah.
So it has to be like a tangible reality, basically, of like what you're going to get versus like what may or may not happen, I believe. Yeah.
I think the interesting part that's kind of been a bit of a sticking point is that you don't get any physical item from this thing.
Do we have any good examples of booster packs that being talked about? Like, is it like unlock all kind of scenarios, or?
I mean, most of what they're talking about is like FIFA or now no longer EA football, whatever they call it now. Like it's those like ultimate team packs, right? Whereas essentially it's the baseball card thing, right? Where it's like, hey,
exactly.
You buy a pack, you get a random thing.
Yeah.
But now
which is essentially the problem. Like they are the booster packs are essentially loot boxes of sorts. So
100%. Like, I think that's just different. Yeah.
I mean, it's a real world problem at the moment as well, isn't it? With they've got new card packs coming out. What's that game? Is it Magic that's got that new Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
It's like one Lord of the Rings, one ring card or something.
Yeah.
It's like worth
way too much. $1 million potentially.
And it's like who sets that value? So
1 to 2, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's a perfect example, right? Is that they did those Lord of the Rings. They made a one of one ring. Someone in, I believe, Canada found it. I don't remember. Someone who was like the cousin of a card shop owner found it. Has it in a vault now.
That person should make a video.
They
travel to New Zealand and throw it in the fires of Mount Doom.
I mean, well,
that's what they should be doing.
Mount Narahoi, I think, is the one. That's the actual mountain from Mount Doom. I've been there.
I want to relate this back to two things. So Shattered Slayer says in the chat, isn't there a way to restrict a account from making in-game purchases if you're talking about not allowing younger people to buy boxes? I believe so. And he's actually just tickled memory that like we didn't talk about a few weeks ago about Xbox being fined the 20 million for saving children's info as well.
Yep. Yeah, actually, they've sent out a couple of emails recently about updating their parental settings to try and avoid that stuff again, because obviously they didn't want to get slapped with another fine.
And that was happening with the whole FTC stuff and all that, so it wasn't the best time for it. And I'm trying to think what my other point was now. Now I've just got Magic on my mind. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think that, I mean, I'm categorically against microtransactions in any game that you pay for. Just as a hardline stance. I know that's an extreme stance, but outside of large expansion packs, things like Blood and Wine and hopefully this Phantom Liberty thing for Cyberpunk, those kinds of like large content.
I think DLC content's fine, as long as it's a value proposition to the customer.
Sure, and like obviously you need to make that just choice for yourself, right? But when someone can buy a skin for $20 American, that's no longer a microtransaction, right?
Yeah,
that's
you have to think about the other things that are related to loot boxes as well. It's not only like gambling; it is basically a consumer making a purchase, and there are other legal avenues for this kind of thing. But loot boxes have become the scapegoat basically for this kind of thing. So, and as long as companies can hide behind the scapegoat that is loot boxes, they can get away with other stuff that aren't loot boxes, so that are related.
I'm curious on the whole, like, I'm just going to use an example, Counter-Strike. There was somebody, I believe it was like last week or the week before, had only been playing for 3 days, bought a loot box, and he got like a blue knife that was worth $160,000 or something.
Yep, I saw it on front page of Reddit. People were very upset.
Like stuff like that, and it's just like it's those
That
story
might be a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different, but then it also fuels into the marketing for those kind of
for sure
companies as well. And then it's like it's like that Tats Lotto kind of like living a dream.
Yeah, I have no interest in buying loot boxes and things like that for that exact reason, right? Like the CS:GO stuff is a little bit different because obviously there is monetary value to those things that you pulled and you can resell them on, and there's kind of a market for it. So that's a little bit of like a gray area. But when it's something like I don't know, my biggest issue is that when you have like a loot box system, like where's the incentive for the company controlling that to make that it fair in any way, shape, or form?
There's none.
Right? Like if it's like Ultimate Team, like you hear about the people who spend thousands of dollars on Ultimate Team to try and get, fucking Ronaldo and all that shit. And they're like, oh, it's got like a less than 1% chance to pull.
Yeah.
So just keep putting money into it. I mean, like I'm not going to be a hypocrite, right? Like I used to work for the TAB. So I understand like gambling is a form of entertainment, along with other stuff. But that's I think there's a difference on betting on something that is skill related, or betting on horses or football or all that kind of stuff, versus putting money into a slot machine and basically having it be a complete chance thing. And then also on the video game sense, having kids able to do that, it's really, really, and like you hear stories about like kids who get their parents' credit card and spend way too much, and obviously there's definitely onus on the parents to be in charge of that. Like they should be looking up these things. They should be understanding. They should be locking down these things to stop their kids from doing this kind of stuff. But man, I don't know. Like I feel like we've talked about this less because loot boxes have become less of a thing. Like the only game I can think of that still has them is basically EA's games. In the terms of like booster packs.
Yeah, I mean even in New South Wales, they're starting to put like disclaimers after and before any kind of gambling related ads and stuff like that as well. So how do you translate that into a video game? Like lock it behind a quick time event. You want to make this purchase, motherfucker? You gotta earn it.
They do like the Leisure Suit Larry thing where like the game asks you really like old question, like historical
outdated
questions that you have to try and get right to make sure that you're over 18.
Yeah.
You go back to doing lucky dips. They're not loot boxes. They're different, right?
No, exactly. Yeah, there's surprise mechanics.
You have to deal with tank controls.
Oh, God. Saying all this though, I'm okay with games that do it in such a way that you have the loot box, but there is a guaranteed way to get a particular item. Like if you want to buy the Ronaldo, it's like $15 or something. Like I'm okay with those kind of systems. I'm not okay with like everything's left to chance.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at like Overwatch had the loot box system in the original game, and now with Overwatch 2, it's like you buy the skins that you want, but they're also like fucking expensive,
like $20 or something like that. Yeah,
which is insane.
Oh man, we could spend a whole episode talking about all the stuff of Overwatch this week as well.
Yeah.
I need to link into the Discord. There was an absolutely amazing. So, quick like side note, Activision Blizzard had a bunch of layoffs again this week, especially with the esports stuff. And there was a producer that put out, quite honestly, the best I've been laid off video that I have ever seen. Like he put like his whole like highlight reels of working there and all that. And it's like, well, I guess I'm out of work now. Like this is all the work that I have done, and had like 4,000 retweets. It was amazing.
Good portfolio video,
yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like I'm against microtransactions in general, so I definitely have a biased take on this. But I definitely think that, I mean, card booster packs are loot boxes. They've just prettied them up in a different form and made them more familiar to your regular person who's used to collecting baseball cards or
and
cards or Magic cards.
Even if they went transparent and said you have a chance to get this, and this, then there's still a chance, and you still may not get it.
Still gambling.
No matter how transparent it is. So,
Yeah.
And then that builds into the FOMO where you just want to try it and try it and try it until you get it again. So transparency doesn't really work with this kind of stuff either. So
That's it.
I mean, and especially with us achievement hunters who tend to, err on the side of completionists and obsessive compulsives.
Mm.
It's really not a good mix.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of like, seeing the odds for something, you're like, well, I need this, or I need that, or
well, I mean, one point that I keep in mind is it's not necessarily a loot box thing, but you think about what happened with Dead or Alive 6, where they added so much extra content that it was basically, if you're a collector, if you're a video game content collector, you're buying all of it. But the idea of something like that is, I mean, if there was so much content, like clothes, you go buy clothes, there's so much content, you're only buying what you want to buy.
Yeah.
You're not going and buying everything. But the nature of people who play video games generally, speaking very generally, is that we like to collect everything. We collect everything in games. So.
And also, if we were looking at like Dead or Alive 2 or 3, those are the kinds of things that you would unlock for free within the game.
Yeah.
Normally, anyway, I could go on a whole rant for a whole fucking 3 hours about how I feel about microtransactions and how they poison the game industry. But that and fucking battle passes.
But that's locked behind our Patreon, and it's a random percent chance that you'll actually get it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You don't know. We'll put up a bunch of episodes with a bunch of pay tiers, and you got to figure out which one it is. One of them has the calendar. Oh, no! There's a less than a 1% chance.
God damn.
Cameron, you also put a question in the chat related to our first news story today. Do you want to go through that?
All right, cool. So, actually, we probably should do the news story and then go back to the question.
Sure.
I think it'll make more sense.
Go for it.
All right, so as everybody's probably already aware by now, Microsoft has confirmed that Xbox Game Pass Core will be replacing Xbox Live, and that Games of Gold will soon be a thing of the past.
In September, yeah.
September. So Game Pass Core will launch on September 14th. So I imagine the first half of September we'll get like one game, maybe.
Or maybe we'll get like 100. Who knows? They'll just push them all out. They'll be like, take them.
Yeah, no, doubt.
They'll be like, here's every single Games with Gold game for everybody. We'll make a tab in the storage section, and you can have everything that was there.
Yeah, no. Xbox Game Pass Core is essentially renamed Xbox Live Gold. It will cost $9.99 per month. So this is US pricing, or
same price.
Yeah, $60 a year, same price as Gold. Include all the usual benefits such as access to online multiplayer. However, one big difference will be that they will essentially be axing Games of Gold and having instead a selection of titles from Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and third-party publishers. 19 games have been announced since then. I don't know if there is more that have been added. And that new titles will be added 2 to 3 times a year. I don't know if it's added or swapped out. TA said added. I think the original messaging...
I think it was swapped out or rotated.
Yeah, it was swapped out.
Rotated is a good word.
Rotated, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Microsoft is ending Games of Gold as of September 1st, so you no longer have two free games to claim each month. With this evolution, we're saying farewell to Games of Gold. We wanted to use this opportunity to reimagine how to include content with this subscription. We found that the answer to the most compelling catalog was to leverage select titles from our Xbox Game Pass catalog. After any games claimed through Games of Gold can be still accessed if you remain a Game Pass Core or Game Pass Ultimate member. On September 14th, all current Xbox Live Gold members will automatically have their subscription transferred over, giving them immediate access. Which, obviously they want to keep people with a recurring subscription. Subscribe to it.
I mean, very similar to what PlayStation did with their tier system. Like, I think it's,
Yeah, they would have taken a good look at that and went, what's working, what's not working. Especially with the swappable games, I guess, in the core tier, where it's just like, because PlayStation had that Essentials collection when the PS5 came out, where they added a bunch of games, and they would have just looked at that and went, well, what kind of stink did people kick up when these games left and they had no access to them? It's like, well, Sony gave them a chance to activate them before they left, and then most of those have been rolled into the higher tiers.
Yeah.
And that's essentially the same thing, except this is still just it's a permanent collection with certain things swapped out. So
With the PlayStation 1, it was the case that you had to be on a PS5 device, yeah?
you had to be on a PS5 or you couldn't see them, which means
Okay.
you had to have bought a PS5 to access them. You couldn't do it on the PlayStation app. So you couldn't go, yeah, I do have one. It needed a registered console. Yeah. Yeah. And I guess a good way to look at this as well is that essentially, if you're looking 2 games a month, you're basically getting a year's worth of games based on 2 games a month, just automatically rolled into that core.
Yeah.
So it's like you have a year's worth of games, and if they keep the core stuff there, like the stuff that always be there, I don't know what the list is, I haven't looked at it, but it's like your Fallouts and whatever they keep to keep people on the subscription games. Yeah, the first party like subscription titles that they can keep people in there. And then rotate out the smaller stuff like the single player games like Psychonauts and things like that. So
I'll go for the list then. So we've got Among Us, Descenders, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade, Human Fall Flat, Inside, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Psychonauts 2, State of Decay 2, and The Elder Scrolls Online. Which obviously are all part of Game Pass already.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're doing the kind of the EA Vault strategy, right? Where it's their older stuff they'll give away for free, and their sort of premium stuff that's just come out in the last year or two, they'll keep in the higher tiers. Because obviously they want you to have a reason to, they're not going to put Starfield into this core collection for a long time.
Well, I mean, State of Decay is a good example. You get people playing State of Decay 2, which they're still supporting.
Yeah.
As soon as State of Decay 3 rolls around, you want it day one, get the ultimate.
Yeah, get the upgrade.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I am sad about games with gold. Like for us, I think that's kind of not great because obviously we already have Game Pass Ultimate.
Achievement hunters are the worst off here.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah. I mean, I like the getting the odd interesting game and games with gold every now and then. I mean, like Veil was a good example, right? Where it's like that audio only game is not the kind of thing that I would normally buy.
The last few months have been very achievement hunter friendly titles.
Yeah.
Like we've seen a lot of 1 to 2 hours. We've seen Star Wars Racer. We've seen Hoa. Veil's like what 8 to 10, I think.
If that, yeah.
And then what was the other game for the month?
It was like Tunderbrook and a few other bits. There was a few other.
Tunderbrook's like 2 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
What was the other one for this month?
Where the past was, I think it was called or something.
And that's like very quick as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's been some like really good hits for like achievement hunters to get some really easy gamer score. Like I've seen guides from like Welsh and that have taken,
but also like those are kind of interesting games that would not normally get a lot of marketing. Like again, like they're not new releases, right? These are older games that have been out for a bit that they've just kind of resurfaced, and most of them I've never heard of before, which is great. That's the kind of stuff I wanted from games with gold, and to an extent, that's the kind of stuff I want from Game Pass as well. So it does kind of make sense to roll that into it. I just hope we still see more of that stuff show up on Game Pass for us in the future.
Well, I mean, for Ultimate, they could offer as a perk like an actual game every now and then with this. Without having to worry about the Games of Gold stuff. So.
You know what? I would be less mad about the situation if Games of Gold had moved to Ultimate. Which I guess it muddles the whole marketing.
I think it's the antithesis of what they're trying to achieve, though, right? They don't want to be giving this stuff away. They want to make sure there's that scarcity and that there's the time nature of it. And also, like on the financial side, I imagine there's probably better deals and better setup for people getting into Game Pass than there ever was for Games with Gold.
I don't want it to be a case that we just get this. We get the same deal. We get the exact same amount of Game Pass games getting added. Like I've heard so much. People's go-to excuse are they're buying Activision Blizzard, and I'm like, yeah, but like does that necessarily mean that we're going to get the same Game Pass games in? Like, it doesn't mean the value of Game Pass increases necessarily to me as the consumer. That could mean that the catalog's more bolstered, but it could be spread out more.
I guess this sort of ties in with your question around price increases, right? With
So I'll go, like, I put up a thing on Twitter, which is, how do you feel about Xbox Live and Gold being dropped in exchange for Core? 45% people went indifferent, 35% went bad move, and 19% went good move. So it was like very mixed response, I would say.
Sure.
So I asked in the Discord, it was, let me just get back to it. How do you feel about Games of Gold being dropped for Core? And if you're a Game Pass Ultimate sub, do you think that losing Games of Gold and getting the price increase is justified?
I mean, I'm not a fan of it being dropped. I totally understand why it was dropped. This has been in the cards for ages. We've been predicting this since Game Pass got introduced, years ago. Even
since
for Game Pass Ultimate.
The supposed price increase last year.
Yeah, right. We were like, okay, well, they're clearly going to be like, with them making the free to play stuff not require the subscription. I think that we were like, yeah, like Games with Gold is definitely on the way out, and we talked about how the output had not been good. There'd been a couple of repeat games. There'd been a lot of like old stuff.
Yeah.
They were also like, when they dropped the 360 stuff, we were like, okay, this is obviously it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has not been a good sell for Games with Gold for quite a while. PlayStation, after 8 or 9 months, drop a first party title in every now and then. Like, I think they've had, the God of Wars and like all that kind of stuff. So they do get a steady stream of like actual first party content. And Xbox don't have anything to sell in those categories.
Very true.
So what are they going to give out, really? So, I mean, in Ultimate, like, with the Ultimate section actually has members deals and discounts and perks, where that's not in any other tier. So they could totally lean into the perks and just, as I said, to give out some good stuff.
The freebies for PlayStation Plus this month were Crash Bandicoot 4, Man of Medan, and
Activision.
Activision, yeah.
They also gave away Call of Duty Cold War while the FTC stuff was going on.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hilarious.
they definitely have a better system for that, but I think on the flip side, right, they've always had a weaker list of their Game Pass equivalent stuff, right? In terms of it's kind of been like they give more up front, but they don't have much in terms of variety elsewhere.
The only thing that will get me to buy a PS5 will be if they do day one games.
Yeah,
like
right.
That would be the only thing.
And they would never do it, right? Like it's again, like, you want to talk about Xbox's strategy. That's the complete opposite. Like the only reason they do it is to stay competitive, and that so they have a toe in the water, so they're not kind of completely caught off guard and get compared, unfavorably all the time.
Yeah.
As for the price increase, I mean, I fucking hate it. It's
this is a thing that I don't get. I knew that you would be on my side with the price increase.
Yeah.
Okay, we can. I'm very much like, I'm a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber. I'm losing something and I'm paying more for it. What's the trade-off? Because everybody's basically just said to me, like, well, you guys are getting Activision Blizzard. And I'm like...
I mean, are we, though? That's the thing. We don't know that for a start. It's not confirmed. It is likely. But also, Microsoft doesn't have to put any of that shit on Game Pass if they don't want to.
Yeah, 100%.
They haven't said that they will. I mean, they've come out and said that, like Diablo 4, for example, that sure shit ain't coming to Game Pass Day, like, whenever the deal's signed, right? They're like, no. We bought this fucking thing to make money.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we'll put Overwatch on there. I was like, well, Overwatch is basically like free to play now, right? So it's like,
yeah, that was one of the perks that was coming up that they were giving away.
Overwatch 2 is getting added to Steam. Like, Blizzard Activision games are getting added to Steam at the moment. Like, they're really trying to turn this around.
I have my opinions about Blizzard and Activision in general. I mean, most of their stuff is fucking terrible recently, unfortunately, which is really sad coming from a company that I really loved growing up. But I mean, I don't think that any price increase is justified. But also, I mean, I'm speaking only as a consumer who wants to get the best deal for myself. I'm not taking into account their business expenses. I don't know their operation costs. But any kind of price increase in my mind can get fucked. And unfortunately, we just have to deal with it. But do I think they're making this price increase in good faith because they absolutely 100% need to do this to cover their costs? No, absolutely not. Do I think that they're doing this partly to cover the cost, but partly because it's a good opportunity to increase your prices right now because everyone is increasing their prices and you want to stay ahead of the market and make more money? Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it. I'm not going to go full conspiracy, tinfoil hat on this, right? But like, if you just have to look, I mean, like, like Australia is a great example. Like if you look at the grocery stuff, they're like, looking to like greedflation and that kind of thing, where it's like companies being like, oh yeah, we just put the price up because fuck you, basically, because we can.
I'm probably gonna get this wrong for the other countries, but for Australia, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago when they did the report. Coles and Woolworths took up like 70 to 80% of our supermarket, our supermarket market.
Yep.
Whereas I think like Tesco is like 30% in the UK, something like that. Like the US has like whatever their top one, it was 30. Like, other English speaking countries have a like much more diverse range of supermarkets.
New Zealand is very much the same as Australia. Like we have two, and it's it's very, very same sort of thing.
Countdown and what's the other one?
Yeah, Countdown and why am I suddenly blank? New World.
What's Safeway? Safeway's over there, yeah?
Safeway's in the States.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cool. So we have New World and New World and Pack and Save, and there, so it's like lower price, higher price, but owned by the same company. And then in the middle, you have Countdown, who compete with them, that's Woolworths, that's same company.
Yeah, because, I knew one of them was Woolies. Yeah,
because even like taking it back to gambling, a lot of our pokies, I think in Victoria and Tasmania, are owned by Woolworths.
That's insane to me.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't know that. Like,
I had no idea.
It's crazy how much money Wesfarmers have in different industries in Australia. Because there's like the whole chain of like supermarkets, whether like pokies, retail outlets. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of different stuff. Anyway, I was going to get
the greedflation thing is like, it's a real thing. Like you can see it. You can see that the rates of prices are going up more than inflation. And like obviously I understand that like inflation is almost required as a society grows and we have there's more money out there. It's kind of inevitable, right? Like Big Macs were never going to be $3 for the rest of time, right? But to say that companies aren't taking advantage of this by putting prices up, and I will wear it on my sleeve. I'm a massive left-leaning socialist, so I have all kinds of problems with that kind of inequality.
Yeah.
But
the other problem too is like we've got so much like it's not just cost of living, it's also a housing crisis in Australia. Yeah. So like those two at the same time, people are just getting ridiculous like with increasing their rent.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Kia?
Oh, I was just going to say it's a newer market, right? So it's not like we've got 40, 50, 80 years of inflation to gauge it off. So they can basically just do whatever they want really in this market. So
yeah. And obviously that Xbox are on the back foot, right? So they need to be a little bit careful, which is why we're seeing a smaller price increase. We're not seeing like a $5 to $10 price increase because they can't. They don't have fuck you market share. And like to be fair, even PlayStation doesn't have fuck you market share. They have you can get fucked, but they don't have fuck you, in the way that like they will put their prices up and people will bitch and moan about it, but they'll still pay it for the most part. Yeah. But I guess So to answer your question, I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy, Bob. But it is what it is, and I think that I think that Game Pass is still fantastic value for what you get. Oh yeah. I almost everything I play is from Game Pass. I absolutely love it as a platform and a system. I really like what Microsoft's done with it. But just as a human being, if I could pay less for it, I would.
It kind of makes me think though, if I was take the whole achievement hunting element out of it, how's the typical consumer going to react to this? Because I know a lot of people will, base their Game Pass Ultimate decision on, oh, well, the game's good for this month. I've had 2 months of something that doesn't appeal for me. I'm going to cancel.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the Activision Blizzard thing's so important, right? Because they want to get some of those big titles in there and own them and make money on them. But yeah, I think that's perfectly fair. But I don't think it's going to be this price increase that makes that change. I think it's going to, like you said, I think it's going to be the availability of the games and what's actually on the service. A couple of bucks here and there for a month is not going to break anyone's bank.
On a point, I'll just say what I'm going to say. On a point with that, people saying that the EA Play membership is only included in PC but not console. There's something that really goes there. If you don't have a console, you still get access to EA Play. But your way to get Ultimate is that if you get Ultimate, you have PC, you have EA Play, and console content. But really, it was a really good idea of them to put EA Play in on the PC one, because anyone that has a PC that doesn't use a console will still get access to that content, and that's probably really important for those extra markets that are within the ecosystem.
Well, like PC Game Pass wasn't going up in price, right? That was the thing, and they're pretty clear about that, because I think that Microsoft see that as their growing market of trying to expand out.
And you could easily just if you do have a PC and you can play things there, anything that has the cross-save, cross-play functions, you could easily get by with the PC. Because PC you can play, you shouldn't need the online membership to play on PC. That's always the whole thing, isn't it?
No, yeah, you never did, yeah.
Yeah, so you could ideally, if you can, do PC, and then it'll lean into the PC market. Maybe that's what they want as well, because it's not about,
Yeah, I think people start with PC and then go upgrade to Ultimate to get on the console stuff.
Get the people that are in on PC and then move them into the console Ultimate tier.
I am kind of concerned with the... I don't want to phrase this the wrong way, but with the purchase of Activision Blizzard, I don't want to have a situation where Game Pass Ultimate games... I'm very indie focused. I want us to keep a indie focus when it comes to Game Pass Ultimate games.
I agree.
Those games that are on that 37 Australian... 40 New Zealand kind of price bracket.
Yeah, the kind of stuff that we talk about every week. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the AAA indie titles, those kind of hits. AAA games. Those kind of ones that hit Game Pass. I don't want it to be a case of we get the Activision Blizzard thing. I'm okay with getting the AAAs and that in there. I don't want it to be a situation where these games get added and I just have no appeal to them because they're just too big. Because
also,
I was going to finish my thought. I think there could potentially be an issue if we get to a point where we're adding games cool, we've got a few Odyssey kind of size titles or stuff that's going to be cool. Value proposition would be great if we're getting a few AAAs or high quality stuff. But as a indie consumer, I would much rather have something where I can play multiple indie games for that sweet spot of 1 or 2 nights in a week.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I think it's going to be a non-issue for the most part for 2 reasons. The first part is going to be that Microsoft still has Microsoft still want to make money on a lot of these games still, right? And so, that's the reason we're not going to see I may be wrong. I do not believe that they're going to have a massive influx of all of their Activision games coming out straight away as soon as this deal is signed, right? They will drip feed them out. They'll put them in to boost their slow months. They'll be like, okay, this month is kind of quiet. Let's put in the Spyro trilogy. Let's put in the Crash Bandicoot trilogy. Some slightly higher budget games, right? To sort of pad out the runtime. And I think that I think it'll be that, and they'll have that, and they have a lot of a catalog to pull from, but they don't have a huge catalog to pull from in terms of stuff that would be appropriate for Game Pass, I think. The other part is that, I think it was Matt Booty. He came out the other day and said that it takes 5 years to develop a game now.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Like, the development size and that's fine. I can understand why you...
Yeah, like I don't think, like, looking at like the amount of stuff that comes to Game Pass on a monthly basis, which is a decent amount. If one of those games gets swapped out for an Activision slightly larger title release, I'm not gonna be too worried about it.
I just know earlier in the year there was a point for me where it felt like everything that was getting added to Game Pass was an achievement hunter's worst nightmare. And this was around the time when the Persona games got added. So like you're the perfect target audience when it comes to that. But if I get told that there's going to be like titles of that length getting added to Game Pass that are going to take me past 200 hours, like I'll play Yakuza and all that kind of stuff. But if I want to complete games of Game Pass, I don't want a whole slew of games that I don't have time for. Because it ruins the value proposition.
I get what you mean. Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, value proposition is kind of a weird focus to go with there because, I mean, you're looking at the transition between games with gold and then this stuff only being in Game Pass Ultimate. It's like people who are saying, oh, why are we only getting this game with gold? Will start saying, why are we only getting these in Game Pass?
Yeah, you can't win, right?
Mm-mm. So you're looking at a general population, then it's like we want to lift these indies up as much as we can, and it's great they're going into Game Pass, but we can't let it get to the point where people are going and saying, well, you know, why are we only getting
we
these
only got this indie that nobody's heard of. Yeah.
Which like for me is great because I love stuff that I'd never heard of because that's how I find new games to play.
Yeah.
But like Bulbasaur points out in the chat, like if we think about like Activision's catalog of what they would put out, it's like, okay, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, of like stuff that exists, Diablo. They're probably not going to put their RTSs on there, so you're probably not going to see like the old StarCrafts or Warcraft. You're probably not going to. You might see World of Warcraft, but probably not because consoles are not really made for that. And also, again, they want to make money on World of Warcraft, so that's not going to go into Game Pass ever.
Yeah. The best you'll get is like PC Game Pass.
But they wouldn't, right?
They don't have perks, I was thinking maybe there's a perk that gives you something like a skin or something along those lines. But
like
it'll be tied to GPU, and it's whether they'll do it for something that's not on console.
Something that's only on PC. It's pretty unlikely. So that's what I'm saying. Like Activision definitely have a big catalog, but the main, I mean, again, like Phil Spencer's come out and said that the main reason they want is for the mobile market.
Yeah.
Like they want the King part of Activision Blizzard King. And obviously, you know, they'll put the Call of Duties back out on there, and there'll be the new one that comes out, right? But that's once a year that you'll get that. And then, like I said, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, Overwatch, I guess. But like again, that's basically free, so whatever. What else is Blizzard put out these days?
It'll be one of those propositions like how they did what was it, Valorant, LOL.
Yeah, right.
Like there will be those kind of Game Pass perks.
Yeah, but they're predominantly PC though, and if
that's
what I'm
saying is that and like Game Pass Ultimate, I don't think that like I don't think there's enough Activision catalog that makes sense to go into Game Pass for it to offset the kind of stuff that you want on the indie space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides working like a launcher into their PC Microsoft Store for the Battle.net, you know, like
they'll do it.
What are they gonna do?
Don't underestimate it. They'll do it.
Yeah, maybe.
I know they'll do it.
Put up the old CODs. You put Cold War on there. You put, you know, I don't know. I haven't played a COD in a while. You put the Modern Warfares. You know, like sure, why not? But having those come out once a year is basically the same as any of their first party stuff. It's the same as Starfield coming out and being like, well, yeah, Starfield came out, which means maybe we don't get a different indie title for Game Pass that month. But fuck it, it's good to get AAA stuff. It's good for the business. It's good for their bottom line. It's good for their marketing, and we get to play. You know, like I as much as I love indie games, I do love a good AAA game for quote unquote free. But primarily I play indie stuff because it's shorter and more accessible. Yeah. To your point about like their stuff with Sega. I mean, that's essentially what that big glut of stuff was for Persona. And again, we're getting more Persona, right? And Yakuza was essentially their relationship with Sega. I think that's kind of a unique thing. And like we haven't really seen them have that kind of relationship with any other publisher that they don't already own.
Yeah.
And again, they were even looking at buying Sega at some point, which is not happening right now. But
no, man, there were so many studios on the list. I'm like, yes, please, thank you.
It'd be interesting, yeah. But but like maybe it works better just having an exclusivity deal, or
I don't know.
Anyway.
Maybe I'm just asking too much. I just want my Game Pass Ultimate to essentially be like those shorter, sweeter experiences.
You basically just want a humble bundle Game Pass.
Yes, I want humble bundle Game Pass. That's exactly what I want. Thank you.
I can understand that. That's how I treat my Game Pass. But yeah, cool. I don't think there's any other comments. Yeah. I will just quickly touch on this. Microsoft, Activision Blizzard, latest news, they won their FTC case, and the appeal got denied. And we were like, oh, cool, it's over. It's going to be over. And then the CMA were like, no. And they were like, we'll just close over the UK. And then apparently they came to some sort of deal. And now that the deadline for the deadline has been extended out to October, which is actually not that far away, to be fair. But it looks like they're trying to basically have everything done and dusted by the end of August, potentially. I think August 29th is when they were looking to have all the CMA stuff taken care of, which people have, like we talked about before, is probably going to be something along the lines of giving some sort of concessions on cloud gaming. Maybe Xbox games are published by someone else, another cloud provider, potentially in the UK for a bit. Who knows? But, I mean, at this point, I think it's kind of basically a done deal.
Yeah, well, basically... They have just today. The FTC retracted their newest effort to go ahead. So it's basically they just have to work out their stuff in the UK, and they're done.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I feel bad for that guy who bet a bunch of money on the deal being closed, because while the deal was extended, it was extended to after that date. So he probably lost a fair amount of cash on that.
Yeah.
What else we got?
I'm going to go through the COD games quickly because it ties in. So Call of Duty on Xbox 360, like games like Black Ops 2, Modern Warfare 3, and Call of Duty World at War have seen thousands of players return after the matchmaking servers were recently updated. I did not know there was any issues, to be honest.
I think it was mainly that a lot of them were down or filled with hackers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I jumped into Call of Duty World at War last night to play some multiplayer.
I should do that.
And I didn't have any of my multiplayer achievements automatically unlock.
That's surprising.
And I got through, I think, one match before it started lagging and glitching and crapping out. And then I kind of moved on and did some zombies. But there's reports that like some menu systems and stuff like that are kind of glitching if you go into the Xbox multiplayer menu in some games like Black Ops, because everything's kind of a little bit more connected to live. It's having actual issues, and it might just be congestion. So
some of the talk also is that some of this is the result of some of the COD games being brought to Switch, and then basically having to relook at the servers anyway. So Microsoft being like, we'll just take this opportunity to just check things out for a bit, especially now that we're buying this company.
So quick question for this: out of the four, actually, I'll just do any Call of Duty. What is the best Call of Duty for multiplayer, in your opinion?
I mean, I don't play multiplayer, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be. I really like Modern Warfare 2, but Black Ops, the original Black Ops, might be the correct answer.
And which one are you locking in?
I'm gonna say let's say Modern Warfare 2. I like Modern Warfare 2 a lot.
Modern Warfare 2, okay.
The original 360 one.
The first thing that comes to mind is the Rust map.
Yeah,
100% Rust map.
Was the yacht? The yacht one was the big yacht. That was
the yacht
Black Ops,
was
right?
Black Ops. That's hijacked.
I remember that one. Yeah.
Keo?
I'm just gonna have to settle with Black Ops 3. Actually, is it? Black
Ops 3? Man, you heard me. Black Ops 2 is obviously the best answer.
Yeah.
I love Black Ops 2. I love the Pick 10 system. I spent way too much time in Black Ops 2.
I just don't remember any of them these days.
Yeah, so... I spend as little time as possible in multiplayer. I've done most of them. The only thing I have left to do in Call of Duties that I've started, I think, is World at War, just to do we got one zombies achievement left.
Yeah,
and then obviously Prestige 10 times.
I loved 1 and 2's completion. 3 with the medals is absolutely ridiculous, and I need to do the zombie. I've got all the what's the mode called for Black Ops 4? Kia,
Blackout?
Blackout, yeah. I got all the Blackout achievements. I just need to do zombies for Black Ops 4.
Yeah, I've been working on the Blackout stuff. I've had to join groups to actually try and get achievements. I finally got all the Blackout achievements.
Oh.
I just need like 2 more wins, and I'll have my 10 wins. But you can't find matches here in Australia. One of the things they need to do is fix
the regional matchmaking stuff.
Yeah, all regional. Yeah, matchmaking.
Don't talk to me about battle royales. I just can't deal. Cannot deal.
I think Spellbreak was the last one I'll ever do.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, that was no, technically I think it was Rumbleverse, but
true. Okay, yeah.
Technically for the 5 minutes that was up.
Yeah, you'll finish Naraka one day.
I didn't start Naraka.
You forgot about
it.
It's free to play
now. It's free to play now.
Yeah. I didn't know it wasn't free to play to begin with. I mean, that sounded like a no-brainer.
Yeah, because it was a Game Pass day one.
That's right. Yes.
It's a good game. Like, I would pay money for it, but like, it's just way too grindy.
Yeah, no shit.
I've put like 80 hours into it. Anyway, do you want to talk about I guess Diablo 4?
I'll talk about Diablo 4. So talking about Blizzard once again, and them putting out bad games and making bad decisions. No, well, maybe depends who you ask. I know that Diablo 4 has had very good critical reception and among the general public, but it's not without its issues. If you just go on the subreddit, you'll see a lot of people complaining about some of the problems with it. And obviously, these are the most passionate members of the community talking about the real in-depth stuff. The people who put hundreds of hours into this game being like, hey, like Sorceress is like way too vulnerable and like dies way too easy. Like we get like she's supposed to be a glass cannon, but like this is like you need to make some changes here, or Necromancer doesn't really have a good minion build. Trust me, I've been looking into this stuff because I was thinking about starting this. And Blizzard has decided to address all these concerns by telling everyone to go fuck themselves and nerfing all 5 classes in the game, and just like some of the this is I've seen some bad updates in the past. Shit happens, right? Like Bungie has done this plenty of times. This is the worst update I've ever seen for like a AAA release in terms of like balance. Like there's a lot of technical stuff in terms of like what they've done, but I've just like, if I'll read out one of the tweets about this. You got to wonder what the Diablo 4 devs were smoking when they made this patch they released today. They've nerfed crits plus vulnerability, but they don't give any replacement to that. They've nerfed the worst class in the game. They've made everyone more squishy, and they've also made it longer and harder to get XP. So the XP grinds don't work as well anymore. They've made the Hell Tides more difficult. They've made things more expensive.
Why did I wait to get to level 100?
Yeah. It's like, look, my vulnerable damage has been cut almost in half. My attack power is down by 2k, and my armor is down by 1k. I was hitting 3 million in crits before, and now post-patch I'm seeing numbers in the literal hundreds. Like, this game is already a grind, and that's kind of part of... Again, you guys have played it, I've not, but again,
I've not played it,
okay,
actually.
So this is the thing. I'm the only one here who has played it. For what it was at launch, I really enjoyed the game. It's not without its issues.
Sure.
But like the issues to me is mostly the online.
Always online?
Yeah, like essentially just having the amount of, like I had, I think two free, either one. Situations where I just randomly disconnected in the middle of a field and I was like, yep, my hardcore character's done. Somehow managed to get hardcore done the first time without losing character to get that level 50 achievement. And Sorcerer is very good to deal damage at a distance.
It was.
It was. Yeah, that's the question. So, man, I don't know. I'm really like first thing is just like
is the question.
Like why? Yeah, why would you want to? This is the thing. Yeah. They're trying to appeal to the casual audience. They're trying to appeal to those players that are like, I'm going to spend 2 hours a week in this kind of title.
Sure.
they've completely screwed over their hardcore players.
Well, I feel like they fucked everyone, right? Because they've just made the game longer and less enjoyable and more difficult. And I know that there was a lot of talk early on when the game came out that it was too easy.
How would you notice this as a casual player though? Is my question.
Maybe. I mean,
if you're putting like 2 hours in, like every other night.
Well, to be fair, if you'd put in like, a couple hours in of the last few weeks and you go back to it and suddenly the kind of area that you were in, you're just getting absolutely bodied and your attacks are doing like half as much damage. Like, yeah, you might not like think about it too much, but you're definitely not having more fun than you were.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing 2 hours a week, then you want to make more progress than not. So
exactly.
It doesn't make any sense.
I'm just saying, like, would you notice it though? Is the question.
Yeah. I don't think it would be. You probably might not do the math to see the numbers coming off differently, but you'll probably notice you're getting your ass handed to you by enemies that you were just smoking before.
Yeah, because your ARPG players will just be like.
Yeah, they haven't done a stat squish on any of the enemies at all, have they?
No,
no,
nothing like that.
Yeah, as far like I wasn't aware of this update before then. The only thing that I knew was coming in season 1 that people were complaining about was the reset, like the seasonal character.
Yeah. Ideally, the best thing that they should have done was just left everything as it is, and then made new conditions for the seasons, and then. If they were going to alter anything, alter the conditions in the seasons themselves. So exactly like they did, where there was a meta, gear set for 3 every season. Everyone was running something different.
The only thing that I've heard in terms of an update that makes sense to me was the materials and the storage were getting an update because they wanted to essentially add them to a separate list so it didn't take up inventory space, which I think is a wonderful idea. The amount of time you easily store way too much gems, and it's like head back, fix up your inventory and all that. I definitely agree that was a good update, but everything else just seems like it feels like that kind of like dev knows what dev is right kind of mentality.
Pretty much right.
Which
is, to be fair, like it's not the first time Blizzard does this kind of stuff, right? I mean, if you look at World of Warcraft, but I mean, actually, no. Like I was going to say, if you look at like Diablo 3, for fucking example, was also not great for this. But this is the worst I've ever seen.
I'm torn between it being like Diablo 4 feels like a game that is catered towards a more casual audience, but then when it comes to these kind of balances and all that, I feel like it's the hardcore devs that are implementing these balance. Like we need the game to be more difficult than we need it to be.
But we also, it's like, we want people to play for longer, so we're going to make it more of a slog to play. And then we're also going to make the chests and the Helltide zones more expensive.
We'll get some form of microtransaction next week.
100%. 100%. But apparently they're having like one of their fireside chat things on Friday, so just after this, to discuss it. I'm very curious to see what'll come out of it. But anyway, I don't want to spend too long on it because again, like it's still early and it just came out, and I'm sure there'll be some stuff that gets rolled back and makes this a non-issue. Hopefully.
I really hope they fix. Like Diablo 4 is an absolutely phenomenal game from when I played it, and the main thing for me is the fact that you don't have there's no real cross-play games. There's nothing out there other than Rocket League and a few others. That really,
what if they What if they had to make like a blanket change and then slowly roll back individual things to work out where the problems are? Then if they're having a problem somewhere in the stats, then like if you adjust everything individually, then you're just going to constantly have up and down problems. But if you blanket adjust everything at once and then alter things to see where they fit, then you'll have a better chance of working out where you're going wrong.
But that's the kind of thing you do in beta testing. It's not the kind of thing you put in a 1.1 release, right? Like you don't put it in a seasonal update.
It makes me wonder like what kind of beta testing what kind of separate server they have for this kind of testing, whether it's actually getting tested properly.
I mean, I'm sure it is, right? Like you never roll this kind of stuff out untested. But
how they've been acting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Blizzard, so you never know, right? But anyway, again, there's probably not much more to say on it, but I'm curious to see how, if anything changes. And then there was just one other quick thing that we got some news about Star Wars Outlaws. Apparently, it's going to have a few planets on it. There's no free flying, so you can kind of fly in the area, but you can't like fly between planets or whatever. It's like jumping. And apparently, each planet is going to be as big as several parts of Assassin's Creed Odyssey's like regions. So I think we're looking at some pretty large game here. I'm a little bit worried that they're going to Ubisoft it up just a little bit too much, and there's going to be too much busy work. But like we talked about before the start of the show, I do like Star Wars a lot, so I'd probably be willing to put up with a lot of bullshit, but I don't know if everyone else will.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to... Oh, yes.
I completely forgot. We didn't mention about Larry Herb leaving.
Oh, yes. Major Nelson is leaving Xbox after over 20 years there. He hasn't announced what he's doing next or anything like that, I don't think. But it is... surprising news.
He opened his DM for like the first time ever, and he's working through every single message he's got.
Oh, that's really cool.
Which is really sweet of him.
I mean, you'll have the free time now.
I've had the chance to meet him twice. Just really nice guy. He's obviously worked on features like the achievement system, messaging system, party chat, a few other things. But yeah, just he's just the only other person that I think like just represents Xbox so well, other than Phil Spencer. Like just in terms of like what gaming should be. But
I did see a lot of jokes about him being like, well, I guess he sorted that Activision Blizzard thing and now he's out. He's done.
I'm interested to find out what happens to his podcast, whether it's just getting taken over by
they said that they're taking a hiatus for a bit and it'll come back under a new form with some new people.
Yeah, well,
I imagine it's going to be the I can't remember the names. I can think of what they look like. I can't remember the names right now, but I'm sure it'll be the other two or three that he has like rotating in and out of that podcast.
I've never listened to the podcast, so
it's a good listen. They like it's very corporate.
Yeah, they have.
I was going to say it's a marketing tool.
Rubenstein on there.
Yeah,
Jeff Rubenstein, the guy that you emailed about your statue, your little figure, your little.
Oh yeah, Rubenstein.
And there's a couple of others that
I imagine he would just take it over.
Yeah, potentially. I forgot the time for it.
But it's 100% definitely a marketing tool. But the dev interviews that they have sometimes on there are worth a listen. I don't really care for the weeks that are just like okay.
Yeah.
System update.
Yeah, the Wasteland 3, like when that came out, they had some really good stuff like for that, and you could really dig into some of the weeds with the good dev talk that they've done. So
actually, I will plug another podcast here for a second that you should listen to. If you're a fan of indie games, I think it's the Indie International. With Homeseek, Mike was on it, I think like a month or two ago, and I discovered it through that, and it's basically like dev comes on, there's a whole bunch of questions relating to their project. Then the dev gets to ask a question forward to the next episode and call somebody out to come on as a guest.
That's really cool.
Which Mike's name, I've known Mike for like a year now. I cannot pronounce, like Greek names are just very difficult to pronounce. And this guy's obviously done his research. Like there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. So,
sure.
Definitely recommend.
Yeah. Sounds good. You want to get into the Game Pass updates because there's quite a bit going on there.
Yeah, so we've had some decent updates. So we've had The Cave, Tectonica, and Tome come out. I'm not sure if Tectonica has achievements with game preview. Do you know?
I think so.
I don't know.
It's like that crafting survival kind of game, right?
Yeah, kind of like Factorio.
Okay, yeah,
And
cool.
Satisfactory.
July 19th, we had Maquette come out. I'm pretty sure Welsh has got a pretty good guide that I think runs in.
I finished that this evening, so I'll talk a little bit about it.
We then had Figment 2, Creed Valley, and The Wandering Village come out yesterday. I'm really excited to get my hands on The Wandering Village, but I haven't looked at the achievements yet, so yeah.
I think the achievements just showed up, so.
All right, cool. July 25th, we have Serious Sam's Siberian Mayhem coming to the service.
It has some unobtainables, unfortunately.
Damn it.
But maybe that'll get fixed.
Of course.
July 31st, we have Vemba, which is the other game that I'm really excited for.
Achievements just came out for that as well. Looks relatively straightforward.
And then August 1, we have Celeste coming back in, which can be done with Mostly with accessibility mode. Really good game. Definitely one of the best games with golds that we've seen ever really hit, I guess,
100%.
out of indies.
Top-tier
Games leaving Game Pass, PC Game Pass mid-month. Marvel's Avengers: The Ascent, which, god damn it, I knew it was going to catch up with me eventually. 2 Point Campus, Dreamscaper, and Expeditions Rome. I definitely recommend that you do Dreamscaper. It's one of the better games that I've played in Game Pass. I know Matt will disagree with me.
I won't disagree. I would say if you had to pick two, The Ascent would be the one to pick. I think it's a much better game in general. But I enjoyed Dreamscaper. I think it's
The Ascent's more buggy though. That's the issue I have with it.
The Ascent is definitely more buggy, but I didn't have a huge. I got through a relatively
very, very doable if you come across bugs.
Yeah, I would say, and like you play through it single player, you won't have any problems at all. I would, and the walkthrough on TA is very, very good.
I guess that's your main takeaway from that. Then play it on single player.
Yes. Yeah.
Dreamscaper I enjoy if you want something that's like Hades without the story.
Hades without the story or the art or the music. No, I enjoy Dreamscaper for what it was. Like I respect it. I think the combat system was pretty good. I like the variety in the weapons, and I liked how the systems work. I just wish there was a bit more
from a team of 3 people, and for me to keep on coming back to it and not like losing interest. I think it's pretty good.
I mean, let me put it this way: I smashed through it and completed it. Basically when I started it, so like I enjoyed it enough to tough through it. Which I know I get through a lot of games, but that was one of the longer ones that I was like, I'm actually going to get this done.
I also wanted to mention with the Games of Gold stuff too. We currently, how do I put this? I do have a plan that next month that we should all like do some Games of Gold cleanup as a community. So I'll probably put a chat on the Discord as well. For that.
I've got it. It's a big list.
Yeah, so it'll be a nice like separate thing from the completions. It'll be like our community event, and we'll just call it something like Gone with Gold.
Trademark.
Matt, do you want to go through the games you've been playing for the week?
Yeah. So I decided that it was trash day, and I went out and I basically went to the dump and I just poured out all of the title updates that I've been putting off for several months, because I noticed my completion percentage had dropped below 96% because of them. So
what have I told you about bullying me on this podcast?
Look, hey, some would say it's the basis of the podcast.
Oh, damn it. Shut up. Move on.
So I decided I was going to do a shitload of title updates, and I got my TA ranking, which had dropped down to 30, back up to 26, which is actually the highest it's ever been, I think. So I was pretty happy about that. I still have some left to do that I need to sort out, but I was really happy to just kind of get some of that stuff off the tag for now. I know a lot of it will come back because a lot of these games aren't at 5,000 yet, but it is what it is. In terms of things that I actually played, I've been doing some more Game Pass stuff like I've been talking about. So I've been playing Slayer's X, Terminal Aftermath Vengeance of the Slayer, which is it's a boomer shooter, first person shooter with the very 90s aesthetic, based on one of the characters from Hypnospace Outlaw. It's a lot of fun. It's very straightforward. There's not really a lot to it. The story is so fucking terrible on purpose. It's also quite meta. And yeah, it's relatively straightforward. It is very much like that Doom kind of thing where there are a lot of secrets and not a huge amount of signposting, so you got to kind of try and figure things out. This was recommended to me. I know that Professor Pluto Alex had played it previously and recommended that I jump on it. But I had a pretty good time with it. It's not like amazing or anything, but it's relatively straightforward. Some of the collectible achievement for blowing up all the toilets can be a little bit iffy. Just make sure you check your guides, because I think some of the guides might be missing one or two. So just be careful with that.
Is there any like I guess level select or anything to go back and claim that? Okay,
so they've recently patched the game to add a level select.
Cool.
So you can now just choose the chapter and go between them, which is really nice. They didn't have that at launch. So I've also played McPixel 3, which just got added to Game Pass. This game's great.
Now,
Yeah, okay.
Is this is another goat sim situation here where they skip the first one, the second one?
They skip the second one, yes.
God
So,
damn it! I knew it.
one of the plot points of the game is to break into the Devolver Studio publishing vault, which I won't spoil what happens, but there's a whole heist sequence that you have to do that is very fucking funny. And the thing that you find at the end of that heist sequence is the code for the second game. So yes, it is very, very self-aware and referential. The game is kind of it kind of has a WarioWare vibe to it, where it's like you get put in a scenario and it's like, hey, stop this train from crashing, or survive this, or it's like, oh no, there's a bomb, defuse the bomb, and that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, and it's just wacky shit. So like there's a correct path that you can do, and it's very much just like click on things and that's pretty much it, or click on things in a certain order to do stuff. And sometimes it's like click on a window and you just like jump out the window and die, and that like gets you that they call them gags. So there's like a correct thing, and then there are like funny other things that you can do, and you have to basically do all of the things in every level, including finding a guy called Steve, and every time you do it just goes Steve, and then takes you to a separate level with Steve. Again, I don't know what the fuck happened in this game, but I played through all of it and I had a really fucking good time. It was very funny.
So,
good.
how much LSD do you think the developer needed to make this?
I don't know, because the joke is that like McPixel is essentially like MacGyver, where it's like the idea is that he's put in like a life-threatening situation and like solves it with like a fishbowl, some duct tape, and like a bottle rocket, and suddenly he makes he fucking turns into an astronaut or some shit. Like, again, it's like it's riffing off of that, of like being put in weird scenarios, but just taken to the extreme. I think it's great. There aren't like, you don't really need like a walkthrough, quote unquote, but like you can get stuck. There's a video walkthrough that like plays through the whole game. It's not like super like user friendly, but if you get stuck somewhere or you can't get 100% on a level, you can kind of like look at that and try and figure out what you've done wrong. But most of it's pretty straightforward. The only thing I will say is make sure that when you do the Devolver level, if you go back to any part of that level, it resets your progress. You have to play through the whole heist again. So make sure you blow up the toilet, and shoot all the flying guys before you defeat the final boss. I think those are the two missable achievements in there that you have to redo. It's again, if you have to redo it, it's not a big deal. But anyway,
chapter select kind of thing, or
you can chapter select it, but you just have to do like that segment, the whole segment again from the beginning. I also played Marquette, like mentioned. So that's another Annapurna published game, very narrative focused.
It's one of their older ones, right?
I think so. I'm not sure.
I feel like this was like one of the ones that was like the only one missing from Xbox.
Really? Okay, I might look that up, because it was...
I'm not too sure. I want to think it's that one, but it might be...
it was...
Let me look on Steam when it was...
So the game is essentially... I saw it described as subliminal... subliminal. The one where it's like perspective based, where it's like you drag things out closer and further to you, make them bigger and smaller based on your point of view. It looks like like I said, it came out back in March. It looks like
March 2021. Yeah.
So
it looks like I'm not sure if PlayStation on that was released later, but late coming to Xbox.
It's okay. It's another one of those classic ones where the achievements ruin the game.
Oh, really?
Because all the achievements are finish the levels and speed run the levels. So it's like, it's a puzzle game that's all about perspective and fucking with stuff and like dropping things to make them smaller or bigger to solve puzzles. But it's also like solve it fast. And like the only way to get the speedrun achievements is to skip all the cutscenes and to just book it. Like there's very, very little wiggle room on the speedrun achievements. The game is not overly long. It's like if you speed run it all successfully the first time, you get it done in under an hour. It took me about an hour and a half because I had to redo a few levels. It was okay. I kind of got the gist of the story. It's a sort of love story about like the progression of that, and I like the perspective stuff with the dragging things, and it's really interesting because like you see like a scale model of something small in the world, and then you exist in a larger, in like the real world normal version of it, and then you can actually go further out to become small in a larger version of it. And so you drag things between those three areas to try and make things bigger and smaller, or solve puzzles, or throw switches and things like that.
Is it?
Yeah.
What is it? Old Man's Journey that has like similar mechanic.
I haven't played Old Man's Journey, but I know of it.
Like just scaling back against the background kind of.
Yeah, I think
aspect?
there is a little bit of that,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, like visually, it's a very beautiful game. I like it a lot, but it is a bit buggy. It's like it's not like. I think it would have been just nicer as like a relatively slightly more chill walking sim. You know, I think that would have made the game a little bit better. But it's fine. You know, it's fine for what it is. Yeah. And then the last thing I've been playing is I've been going back to an old game that I started back in like 2017 called Talent Not Included, which is a side-scrolling platformer based in a theater. So it's very similar to Battle Block Theater in that way of but you're in a static area, and the sort of the stage changes around you. So it's like, okay, it's like, you need to get to the top right hand corner, and then some platforms change, and then some swords fly in and stuff. So okay, now you need to get to the bottom left corner, or you need to collect this, or you need to jump between these things. It's a fun little game. You play as three different characters. One of them is a knight who can do like a spinning dash across the screen. You have a rogue who can roll through traps and not take damage, and then you have a wizard who can teleport between like a blink. It's relatively straightforward. It has like boss fights, but they're quite simple. I started it like ages ago, and like kind of got stuck with it and kind of wasn't feeling it, but decided to go back to it now just because I wanted to clean it up. And I've got like one level left to like get gold on. Pretty straightforward. It's got like a 1.6 ratio or something, so it's not overly difficult. But it also doesn't have a lot of people who've played it. It's made by the same people who put out Chariot. If you guys remember that early games with Gold game.
I need to go back to Chariot. I quite liked it, but it was definitely a more difficult completion.
It's like a 10.0 ratio, that game, or something. It's ridiculous.
Really ridiculous ratios in there.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult game. But this is a lot more chill. But it has that kind of it's also very dated and kind of its humor, but it is what it is. It's fine, you know. But yeah, so not a huge amount in terms of like big releases for me. I'm still working on Everspace 2 and having a great time with it. As Aftos said, he asked me if it's my game of the year, and I'd forgotten that it came out this year. So it might actually, it's definitely on the list there. I'm having a fantastic time with it. It's like a 9.5, 10 out of 10 for me. I love it. Anyway, but I'm still early on, only about 10 hours in. But yeah, that's me. Cameron, what about you?
All right. I'll quickly just go through. So Wolong and Wreckfest are pretty much my like cleaning up kind of games at the moment. Me and Stubby just finished, I think, the final boss in it was the final boss in Wolong, because it's what's his name that turns into a dragon.
That
that's not the final boss.
That's not the final boss, buddy.
Okay.
That's you've got one big boss to fight.
Okay, I got one more. That's fine. We got to like 12:15 in the morning, and we're just like, we should call it. So that's fine.
That's like the end of the story. There is a final boss at the end of it. Cool. There's like an extra boss.
Yeah, so we're still going to like do DLC stuff and all that as well. So that's fine. We've been enjoying our time with it, except for the bugs here and there. Wreckfest, just been doing it very casually on the Rogue Ally. Really enjoying it. It's pretty much the exact same experience that was said before, like half Demolition Derby, half Demolition Racing. I guess the three that I'm going to talk about this week, I'll quickly get Homeseeker out of the way, because Homeseeker's now officially launched. The achievements got implemented in, I think it was Wednesday. So I've just been doing a few of them. Some pretty easy, just get 5,000 material of each achievement. I'm kind of disappointed that the dev didn't use Mad Max references as achievement name session.
They could do DLC. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could do a DLC. That's fine. That would be ample opportunity to include them in there. But yeah, so I've been going through Homeseek. I've been doing it on hard, which thankfully, I don't have much experience with Steam achievements. So it's like doing the campaign on hard, getting people complaining to me that it's too difficult, and having no issue at all. So I don't know. It's really making me want to play Frostpunk, but Frostpunk is a much longer completion as well. So I might do Homesick on Steam and then move on to Frostpunk on Windows and see how I go with that before Frostpunk 2 comes up. The two other ones that I've been playing, I finished up Thymesia. The bug for the levels still works. What you have to do is there is a specific potion combination that if you drink it and then you pick up your I forget what it's like orbs or something. It's like plus 25 like it's negative 25%, but if you do it in such a way that you die and all that, you you reverse it essentially.
Oh.
So it's like, all right, cool. Starting with 100, 125, then that 0.25 multiplier all the way up to 1 million. And then so do that. That works.
Good to know. Okay.
This game, even without that, is relatively easy, except for, I would say, the final boss fight and the tutorial. The final boss fight is essentially all your kind of same movesets. So it's just all right, everything you learned in the game is being used against you now. That's fine. I can explain the system a little bit easier now. So there is the white marker goes into a green marker when you attack, and that is called a wound status. So then when you deal heavier attacks, then that will take the wound away and deplete their health. So it's just matching light attacks with heavy attacks to deplete health, essentially. So you can't just light attack and all that. You got to balance it well, and then depending on the boss, you've got to really implement with your parries. But there's a very good system with skills and all that. It's not a complete upgrade path, but there is a whole bunch of different classes you could if you unlock your full letter skill points, that will unlock 20% of the tree at one time. So you're very versatile in what kind of range you can do, whether you want to do more light attack focus, that kind of stuff. The game is relatively easy for a Souls-like, except for the tutorial mission, because the tutorial mission you get up to the boss fight, and it's essentially one of those, it kills you and then takes you to the main game situations.
You're supposed to lose, basically, for the most part.
You're supposed to lose. The achievement's called Those Shall Not Pass. It is the character the boss fight is the third mission's main boss, and all you have to do is deplete his first health bar. It is very much a case of once you can master the parries, it's fine. But we know from listening to this podcast by now how I play. I'm a very aggressive player.
Yeah.
The main sticking point for this tutorial is that if you die, it's completely start a new game. It's not a save before the boss or anything. It's spending 5 minutes each time, getting back up to that point, and then just giving another crack. I would have spent no less than 3 or 4 hours on this one achievement.
Oh boy.
On a Sunday night. But yeah, finally got it out of the way. Very proud of myself. I highly recommend the game. It's just that one achievement's going to be a lot of people's sticking point.
Yeah.
And just calling you out, Matt, for example, it is one of those things that it's a bang your head against the wall kind of achievement.
I mean, that's Soulsborne's in general, right? That's the Souls you go in expecting that.
I think it's okay though if it's a case of you've got to save before the boss fight. But it's more the only way to get back to that point is to make sure you don't die during that boss fight and then press start and do a reset. Yes, otherwise, you start restarting the tutorial, which is a massive pain in the ass. The last game that I've been working on for the week that I've really been enjoying is Arcade Paradise.
I want to hear more about this because it's been on my it's in my play later list that I'm considering starting it.
All right, so from the very basic premise of it is you're essentially taking over your father's laundromat. You've got half a business degree. You're the slacker kind of person. He sent you there to get some business skills into you, essentially. So the start of the game is very much putting the laundry in the washing machine, taking it out, putting it in the dryer, folding, or like not folding, just like putting it on the thing, and then like you'll get like a ranking for that. So you can S rank clothes, like washing clothes. Yeah. S rank.
I know you love S ranks game.
Yeah.
Right?
S rank will be like $30. Your C rank will be like $5, anywhere ranging between that. So you'll be doing that as your primary task starting off. At the same time, you'll be cleaning up rubbish. You're removing gum from around the store. You'll take out rubbish. There's like a mini game to essentially like get a full bar and put it in the bin. Unclogging toilets. Then you'll realize quite quickly that the laundromat's like essentially making no money, but the arcade's in the back, which there's like 3 or 4 machines at that point, of what's really ranking in the dough. So essentially, you'll grab the money from that, you'll put in the safe, you start coming in, you're realizing talking to your sister, who's quite conveniently a city planner, so she can get you the right permits to extend the business.
Nothing like a good bit of nepotism to.
Yeah. So it's essentially like, all right, cool, we're getting enough money to put another machine in, Then you like just increase the business from that. A lot of the games are very much like they're very familiar arcade games redone in such a way that they have really, like, some of them have really interesting mechanics. Some of them are like just essential like straight rip-offs. For example, there's one called Arcade Racer. I think a Racer. It's like Racer something. Sure. And essentially it is Pac-Man, but you're in a car. If you crash into one of the ghosts, which the ghosts are cops, you're essentially running away from them. You can blast music at them, hop back in the car, and then continue on the level until you get busted. So it's like it's very much a GTA 1 mixed with Pac-Man kind of clone, which is really cool. There's a blockchain game I've found myself really addicted to, which is you clear the chain, you get a number drop down, and then your horizontal or your vertical number that like lines up with that number takes it away like Tetris. And it's it's really addicting because you got to really be you got to really think about like where you're putting places to actually clear the numbers out. So you might have like a line of sixes. You might have like a line of sixes, let it build to like a stack of 6, and then take like, a few of them out to complete it back. Very much the Tetris, as soon as the lines are filled up, it's game over. But yeah, really enjoying that. There's like a racing one, like, those typical old car arcade races. And there's other stuff like a jukebox, air hockey table thrown in. It's a very, it's a 40 to 50 hour grind, but the gameplay loop is solid. I haven't worn out from it.
My only worry are some of those arcade games, because I know some of the achievements for them require some actual skill.
Yeah, so some of them are like a really, because each arcade machine has I think 4 goals. Some of them like a really straightforward, cumulative kind of things over time. Blockchain and that, blockchain, I'm probably getting 100k for a score, but 150 is the one that you need to get for that. So it's gonna be a bit of a grind. But I'm probably I would say safely at the halfway point.
Okay.
Except for some miscellaneous, getting the gum, for example, that's 100. But I do think that we'll get to a point where you essentially have everything upgraded. You've got a shop assistant that you can buy that basically clears the machine. I think this will get to a point where I might put 40 hours in, have all the achievements, and then 250k might be the last thing, and it'll be just simulating days. I can see that happening.
Right.
I don't know what other people's experience has been with it though, but it's very. I'm enjoying the diversity of the arcade machines. But yeah, essentially that's my week. I want to take a look at more Indie Game Pass stuff next week. I just haven't had time with Home 6 launch.
For sure.
But
yeah, what about you, mate?
Yeah, well, outside the Call of Duty that I've been that I talked about before. Really, I only want to bring up two things this week. Right after the podcast last week, I jumped in and did a little bit of Rainbow Six Extraction with
Oh,
Zach
right.
and Todd. I have a soft spot for this game. Coming off of like my completion on Rainbow Six Siege and how much time I put into that was it's a great game and the characters are really set up very well and like it I can see the vision for this game and it is something that really could have done better if it wasn't about you know an infestation takeover kind of thing,
Aliens,
so it's
whatever
just
the
like
fuck it was.
aliens and whatever, yeah. So like uh it's a good co-op experience and had a lot of fun with it. Even like it's been so long since I jumped back into it, but I downloaded it and like you just have three different areas. You go, you complete an objective, you move to the next area. You complete the objective, you move to the next area, and then if you lose a character, you basically you've lost them, and then you have to go back in and extract them out. So there was a couple of points where you fail really easily just on stupid things and that's it for a character, but then you end up in a situation where you're at the end of a level and there's just so many nests and you've got enemies falling out even on the lower difficulty that it's nearly unmanageable. And even
Hmm.
with three of us in one area it was just like, well, why are there so many nests in one area?
Mm.
But yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing a bit more of that. It's a bit hard to kind of get three of us together to do a bit of co-op, so I might have to go in and unlock a little bit more by myself before we do some of that. So but yeah, so and that's just it's just refreshing to kind of go back to some of the operators in Rainbow Six.
Hmm.
So it's just really nice to play with some of them. Even though the skills aren't really that different between a lot of them, some of them have some good abilities. So other than that,
I was going to briefly mention too. If you're an
yeah, yeah.
Aussie, it's $5 at EB at the moment.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They put
Oh,
it
It's
out in the
okay.
very
sales.
cheap to
That's
get a
pretty
copy
good.
of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I've been jumping in kind of late at night to do a level or so of Hitman 3, so the
Oh,
new
yes.
World of Assassination. So I've finally gotten through the all of the levels in the original Hitman part of the game. So I'm kind of going through the whole story. So the idea is I'm going to go and do each of the missions and then go back and knock everything out individually. And I might even, once I'm accustomed to the game a little bit more, I might even stream, the odd level here and there as well, because it's kind of like fodder for that kind of stuff.
For sure.
So, because the problem that I'm finding at the moment is that I really just started the game where I was just tossing a coin near the suspect, near the target, and then just getting him off into the distance. I'd toss one coin and then he'd move a little bit further away. I'd toss another coin, he'd move a little bit further away, and when he's away from everyone else, I'm kind of, taking him out. So,
But
but
push them over a railing or something.
exactly, you can't really do that further into the game. So, but the start of Hitman 2 is excellent. It's,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
really good.
Mm.
So we kind of you're on a beach and it looks really nice, and you go into a building where there's no one. You're just investigating the building, and then you get people coming, and you're inside the building. You have to deal with the situation there. So that's really good
That's the
too.
Hawke's Bay level, right? I think.
Yeah, there is a Hawke's Bay level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's New Zealand. Yeah, that's great. I
yeah,
like that's.
yeah. So
I really wish it was a bigger level, but it is really cool. Like I love like how like compact that level is with like all the cool stuff in it.
yeah, definitely. You go inside and it's got Mary like trinkets and stuff like that in the house. It's really good, yeah. But yeah, so now moving on to Hitman 2. Might do a bit more of that over the next couple of days or something, but I'd ideally like to knock out Hitman 2 this week. Just get in there and do like a level a night or so and just see. I'm getting about a level and a half done, I think, before I have to kind of like stop. But yeah, yeah,
What's
that's
your
pretty
favorite one so far?
my favorite level.
Yeah.
Or I don't. Well, I would nearly have to say Hawke's Bay, but I've got the next one which I'm coming up is the F1 one. I think it's like the
Oh yes,
fast lane or
in
finishing
Miami.
line or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard that's really good. So I'm like, I didn't want to start that one last night because I knew I didn't want to, I wouldn't finish it. So I think by the end of next week that might actually be because I've heard some really good things about it. So, but yeah, so getting a little bit better at not only I'm actually completing the stories within the levels now. So I did the story, basically took out the final level, took out all 4 targets in the final of Hitman 1 with well, in the second last level, doing all of the objectives that actually contributed to a story and stuff. So, but yeah, the first game kind of ends on just a cliffhanger. It was obvious that they were going to continue it on, but yeah, there's not much really more to say about that. But yeah. But yeah, that's it for me. Not much at all, but
Right. Hitman 3 is fantastic. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah.
I also realized I totally forgot to talk about Bramble, which I played basically like as soon as we turned the cameras off last week.
I couldn't remember if you said that you were going to play it or if you already played it last week.
Yes, I was going to play because I had it downloaded.
Okay.
So I smashed through it. It's really, really good. I'll be quick about it. But it is, I sort of described it as Little Nightmares meets Hellblade, in that it's very like Scandinavian themed. With those kinds of monsters and kind of strange, interesting creatures, but it's more like folklore as opposed to like mythology. So you find like like gnomes and things like that, but also like horrifying creatures in the ponds that lure you in with music and demonic. Like it's a very dark fucking game. Like in the same way that Little Nightmares was like, oh, it's kind of cute and interesting, but also horrific. This is like even more so. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was really, really good. Unfortunately, it does have like a no death achievement, which is a real fucking pain, because it is the kind of game that like if you don't like, it's the kind of game that like it's a one hit kill for pretty much everything. So if you don't know how a boss works, for example, you might just die like that. So I had to restart the game a couple of times, unfortunately. And I did do the save. You can do the cloud save trick to make it easier, but yeah. Definitely recommend it. It's not a super long game either. You could probably get it done in like maybe 5 hours, 6 hours. But I think it's great.
Cool.
All right.
Okay.
I'll just
I want to quickly ask for Bramble, Game of the Year contender.
No.
Okay.
No, I think that I like the narrative and I like the art. Like I like a lot about it. It is really, really good. I think it's a high quality game.
So just a strong indie.
It's a very strong indie. But I don't like it might make my top 10 maybe.
Okay.
Like it's good. I really enjoyed it. But I don't think I'm not like putting it up there with like Everspace or like Jedi Survivor or anything like that. And then just quickly for the leaderboards, I am in third place with my trash week with 30,460. Grey Shark is in second place with 42,620, and Mad Eye Pad Eye is once again, taking it away with 150,207 in a week.
I just saw it. I was like, what the hell?
What the fuck is he doing? I don't. All right.
It's like
these people are. Yeah.
Maybe,
that's not a new tag either. He's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, but he only gets like one achievement in every game, so like it might just be a case.
Yeah, to be fair, he's got a lot to work on. That's fair.
He might just be finally just cleaning up. Yeah, but like, how can you do cheat task when it's a case of like going back to a Zillion game and getting 10 points off it? That makes sense.
I mean, I don't know. Theo, do you want to run through the completion shoutouts?
Yeah, let me just. Sorry, I don't have that up. Let's just get that back because my page closed. So sorry about that. Let's go. Completions. All right, so completion shout out. We have GT the Moon Zom with Lucky's Super Lucky's Tale, Mark Word, Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga.
Oh, very nice.
Baron von Neumann has that was a long completion, that Skywalker Saga.
Yeah, I think he had like 8 days on it, which I think is probably extreme because he was playing it with his kids, but those games are long.
Exactly, yeah. Baron von Neumann with Frostpunk, so nice work there. Okay,
anybody's tag I'm jealous of, it's Baron's, because Baron does really good.
100%. He's popping up. They're popping up all the time. It's great, yeah. Legacy has done Modern Warfare Remastered. Firehawk got Mensa Academy done. Aftos got Shadow Warrior 3. Rapture did all Paw Patrols. So that's like, I think we're averaging a community member doing all Paw Patrols once a week. Someone's doing all the Paw Patrols.
I'm just missing the one now. I did the Grand Prix yesterday.
I didn't realize it until right now. We didn't talk about Bluey game.
Oh no! What a shame. We'll have to wait till it's actually out.
Yeah,
it is getting published by Outright Games, though.
Doesn't surprise me. Yep.
Is there L4D Pills here? Got Apex Legends done, so that's a good, battle
It's a
royale.
low ratio, but it's still quite a big achievement.
It can be pretty tricky, that one, actually, if you're not
Yeah.
on the ball with some of that. So
I really wish that Apex Legends got like tile updates.
What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Kevin? How dare you do this?
I only like I love respawn games. I love those kind of mechanics.
Sure.
I really enjoyed Apex Legends. I just wish there was more of it.
I was
Yeah.
quite happy to move away from Apex Legends as soon as I was done with it. So
Yeah, I haven't done the list yet for that exact reason.
yeah, exactly. And MX, is it Monster?
I think it's Monster. Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay, cool. Has done High on Life, which they put a nice little review up in the completions page as well. So
Yeah, definitely go check that out.
yeah,
Actually,
definitely.
Are we gonna,
It's a good
say any
read.
of the review? Or?
Sorry, what was that?
I was gonna say, are we gonna say any of that review at all? Or?
Yeah, we can read out some. I can hit some notes on that. Let me just pull it
definitely.
up here. He said it's an 8.5.
Mhm.
Put a lot of time into it. Said he wasn't not terribly difficult.
Not great for a €60 game.
Yeah,
though.
if it was like a full price game, probably not. Yeah.
Definitely
but
good Game Pass get.
Yeah, and then a lot of collectibles. But he enjoyed the story and all those sort of fun stuff. And not like there wasn't a huge amount of side content. It was it is quite like a narrow experience. But I really enjoyed High on Life as well when it was working.
I'll probably go back to it when it gets the DLC.
That Stabby DLC looks fun.
Yeah, it does look fun. I'm worried about the achievements being broken though again at the launch of that, but
true.
Is what it is. Sweet.
All right. And yeah, I also did Paw Patrol, and it was fucking boring.
But my daughter is gonna have a very stern word with you.
I'm sure she'll be just fine.
What was your favorite Paw Patrol?
The Adventure Bay one? No.
I mean, like, what's your favorite Paw Patrol? Like the
I don't know any of the names.
There's Chase.
Marshall, the firefighter.
Marshall. Okay, go.
Because he's a Dalmatian. Those you don't see Dalmatians very often, and also a cab, so I can't pick Chase.
Is it bad now that whenever I think of a firefighter dog, I think of a Dalmatian?
I mean, that's
and I don't know if it's just Paw Patrol.
No, that's the thing is that it's the other way around. Like Dalmatians have always been firefighter dogs. That's why they picked that dog for Marshall.
But why?
That makes sense.
But why? Where is that originated?
There is a reason for it, but I don't know the historical reason. But I will find out for you.
Jeez.
Anyway, let's move on to the word challenge, which has been heating up. I've been seeing some good guesses in there, considering I gave the most useless clue of all time. Like I said last week, this one's changing up a little bit. If you guess what the game is, you win a code for the game. So I mean, I hope you don't have the fucking game or you guess well, but I mean, whatever, you can give the code to someone else. It's fine. But anyway, so this game, the first clue was this game has over 1,000 gamer scores. So it has a title update or DLC or whatever. Here's the next clue. This game has a jump in it, a jump mechanic. So you can jump in this game, which doesn't sound like a super helpful clue, but actually, if you think about it, of the amount of games that you can jump in these days, not as many as you'd think.
It's all grapple now, isn't it? So
it's all grapple hooks, exactly, right? And it's all grapple hooks or chest high walls.
Man, my mind went to a really dark place then.
Okay, all right. Stay with us, Cameron. But of course, always you can hang out with us on our Discord if you want to guess the word challenge. We have on discord.ir/HallofGamers. You can come join us, hang out with our community. We have a word challenge channel there. If you guess the name, a gift pops up and you win a prize. And the prize this month is a copy of whatever game that is. So guessing, you get one guess per hour. And while you're in there, come say hi, hang out in the podcast channel. You can talk about the podcast itself. We've got a general chat. We've got memes. We've got a serious chat for, when you want to get your feelings out and that sort of stuff. We've been some talk about therapy this week, which I highly recommend. It's great.
Quick question about the word challenge. There's a game based on the movie Jumper, right?
Yeah, Jumper's Griffin story. Yeah, that's a game.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, can you jump on that?
Can you jump on the Witness? I wonder. I don't know. I don't. You have to think about it. But yes, so yeah, come hang out with us. We also have a channel for our patrons, for our Patreon content. Patreon.com/HallofGamers is the place where you can give us some money. We use that to invest in the show, to pay for things like the word challenge, but also for things like Zoom and for podcast hosting and all that kind of stuff, and also occasionally some new equipment when things break and things like that. So if you want to support the podcast monetarily, we greatly appreciate it. We literally could not afford to do the show without you guys. So a huge thank you to Lee Howard, Mikhail KV, Nitholinator, Mad Lefty, Admiral Awesome, Happy Moogles, Kung Fu Skills, Hack and Pone, Cavalero 7, Old Mate Clown, Mark B, and McLovin Legend. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. And I guess that's kind of going to bring us towards the end of the show. You can email us at hallofgamerspodcast@gmail.com, or we're on Twitter at hallofgamerspod. But if you want to find us individually, Cameron, what are your details?
Shadowless Edge and pretty much anything, or Shadowless Edge _ on Twitch. I might stream a little bit before I go away to Germany. I've been doing some Homeseek on my channel. It's probably going to be only that, unless I get really creative with some other stuff. Oh yeah, just follow me on Twitter. That's usually where to find me.
Easy. Kier, what about you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitch at Kier Live at Home. I'm not streaming much at the moment, but you will see me if you catch my tweets on Twitter at Kier Live at Home. And other than that, the VODs for those, if you do miss them, are on my YouTube, which is HTFG Play. So
amazing. And as always, I'm Neomaster on everything. I don't stream or have any real social media presence. So you'll see me on Discord, but on the Xbox and on True Achievements, basically. Well, that's going to wrap up episode 86. We will catch you guys next week. See you later.
Bye.
thanks.